Hello, and welcome to the Murder Basement. I'm Rodney Anonymous, and I like to picture Jesus as a mischievous badger. At 7 a.m. on Christmas Day in 2006, the Oxygen Network aired what is generally considered to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of holiday specials. I am, of course, talking about Christmas with the Dickinsons. Here's the actual promo picture that they used to let everybody know the special was on its way. Yes, that is indeed a turkey with a syringe in it. The syringe, I think, is supposed to represent Botox, but as you'll see, it's anybody's guess. Anyway, Christmas with the Dickinsons only aired once. After that, it mysteriously disappeared. I think it went into a vault in the basement of the Vatican or something. I'm not quite sure what happened to it. The thing is, very few people saw it, but I am one of them. I saw it, I lived to tell the tale, and now, this Christmas morning, I'm going to tell you all about it. First, a little bit of backstory, however. Now, Janice Dickinson, and here is a book that Joe kindly gave me. Joe gave me this. That was very nice of him, and I probably read it about 30 times, even though Janice said that she made everything up and just did it for the money. But Janice Dickinson was originally a model. And she was a model for a while, and then she wound up being a judge on America's Next Top Model. I think she had a falling out with Tyra Banks. Not sure what happened, but she left that show, and the Oxygen Network gave her her own show. And that show was called the Janice Dickinson Modeling Agency. Very clever. Janice decided she would start a fledgling modeling agency with unconventional models. And by unconventional, I mean if you had some scrapes and some bruises, we're maybe missing a couple of teeth, Janice would hire you. She'd hire you right off the street. And I applaud that. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with the hiring policy of the Janice Dickinson Modeling Agency. So anyway, the Oxygen Network thought it would be a good idea to give Janice her own Christmas special. Let's have a look at that promo pic again. Oh, that never gets old. So, the special begins with Janice Dickinson sitting around complaining about the fact that she can't afford to go to Aspen, Colorado for the holidays. And all she can afford, the only place that she can afford to go to is a place called Idlewild, California, which apparently is the Walmart version of Aspen, Colorado. They spend a lot of the show making fun of it. To me, it reminds me more of like Camp Crystal Lake. If you see it, it's like the setting for lots and lots of horror movies. And that's where I thought this was going to go, because this special feels like a horror movie. It is really, really scary. So anyway, Janice is joined on this little adventure by her two children. She has a son and a daughter. And by her two assistants, who are described as the children's gay uncles, even though they're only in their early 20s. And let me just say that the gay uncles function as sort of a fill-in for the audience. They're like the only functioning adults in this entire thing. They spend a lot of time just standing around looking horrified at the stuff they're saying. So, then Janice announces, okay, we're all going up, but later on, my models will be joining me. So, yeah, people from the modeling agency are going to come up, and they're going to vacation with Janice Dickinson in Idlewild, or Camp Crystal Lake, or whatever you want to call this place. So, she sends the gay uncles out to get Christmas decorations, and they are thrilled with how weird Idlewild is. It's this, again, it's like a town out of a horror movie. They're finding decorations that the people there buy non-ironically, like these big golden shoes. It's a little on the strange side. So the models show up, and this is where, and we're only about 15 minutes into the special, this is where things start to go really, really bad. The models show up, and Janice announces to them that what they're going to do is they're going to go caroling in their underwear. In other words, they're going to walk to the houses in the neighborhood around Janice's rental in Idlewild, knock on the door, and sing Christmas carols in their underwear. Now, I don't know what time of year this special was filmed. It wasn't obviously filmed around December because they had to have it ready for the holidays. I'm going to guess it was filmed a little under a year earlier, so we're talking late February, early March, up in the mountains of California. It's a little bit on the cold side. So the models begin to protest. And they begin to say, look, it's cold. We don't want to go caroling in our underwear. And then Janice begins reading them the riot act. And she starts talking about all the things she's endured while modeling. She says, I had a temperature of 105 degrees. And I went, she sounds just like this, by the way. And I went out and I went to modeling jobs. Okay, maybe. Maybe a temperature of 105 degrees. I don't know how much I believe that, but, I'll give her a benefit of the doubt. And then she goes, I had blood pouring out of my ass, and I went on modeling jobs. Give that a second to sink in. Because as far as I know, this is the only Christmas special that blatantly references rectal bleeding. In fact, the whole plot seems to turn on rectal bleeding. I was just absolutely stunned, horrified, and happy. I was like, turning to my wife, who was also watching. I'm like, did we hear that? And she's like, yeah, she said she was bleeding out her ass, and she went on modeling jobs. By the way, if you're watching this, and you do have profuse rectal bleeding, don't go to work. Go to the emergency room. I just want to mention that. Okay, so where are we? So they go caroling, they go knocking on doors, and again, let's just say it's March. Let's say it's early March, because the look on the people's faces is just like, why are there people in their underwear caroling outside my door? And the gay uncles look on, again, perplexed, because they're us. They're the audience. So the models leave. They're gone. They go, okay, back into the cars. You can't get to stay. You did your caroling in your underwear. You're gone. And now it's time for Hanukkah. Let me explain. At this point in our story, Janice has been married a few times, I think maybe 3. And she had 2 husbands who were Jewish, at least 2 who were Jewish. And she had 1 child with each of those husbands. She had a son with one and a daughter with the other. At this point, you're probably asking, if 2/3 of the Dickinsons are Jewish, why isn't this called Hanukkah with the Dickinsons? To which I can only say, the Jewish people have suffered enough. There's no reason to add any more misery. So Janice gets ready for Hanukkah. And she puts a menorah out on the table where the food is. At which point the gay uncles very helpfully point out that there is a ham on the Hanukkah table. I don't know if it was sitting right next to the lobster or what, but yeah. So she's like, oh, I should probably move the ham. Yeah, you should move the ham. So then Janice asks her son if he could do a little prayer in Hebrew. It'd be very nice. And he points out that even though he went to Hebrew school, he doesn't remember any Hebrew. And I should just point out again at this juncture that in this special, her son is not portrayed as the shiniest penny in the jar. At one point, they ask him to go and adjust the blinds, and he gets tangled up in them. And they just cut to the gay uncles laughing, as we all laughed at home. Only they have to suppress their laughter a little bit, but those of us watching at home go, what is wrong with that kid? So, having been failed by her son, Janice then turns to her daughter. And she says, honey, could you tell us the story of Hanukkah? And her daughter thinks for a minute and says, there was some oil and it burned for 8 nights. Whoa, sweetie, that's beautiful. I don't think Mel Gibson could have screwed up the story of Hanukkah that badly. So that's what happens. You get the story of Hanukkah, and then it's time for Janice to scoot off to the Hollywood Christmas parade, which Janice has either been to a lot since she was a child, despite growing up 3,000 miles away, or she's never been to. It slides back and forth. Let's look at the promo picture again. Oh, I love that. So that's it. That's the end. Although in the middle of this somewhere we get treated, and I'm using treated in its broadest possible terms. We get treated to Janice Dickinson's 12 Days of Christmas video. I'm going to embed that in this video. You do not have to watch it. If you do, don't complain to me. Now here's the thing I want you to understand. I like Janice Dickinson. I really do. I wish I lived next door to Janice Dickinson. I think she'd be a great neighbor. And the wonderful thing about the Christmas with the Dickinsons is, yes, it's a train wreck of a Christmas special. It is a horror movie of a Christmas special. It is the scariest thing you're ever going to see. Again, it's the only Christmas special with rectal bleeding. Yeah, that's really all you need to know, but it is just frightening. But then again, as a society, we're a train wreck. None of us is perfect. Not a single one of us. We just got to remember that. When this time next year, when we're all back together and we can all celebrate and sit at the table, and that's whether you're celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or Toyotathon, like we celebrate in the Church of Charles Nelson Riley, no matter what, just remind yourself, think about Christmas with the Dickinsons, and just say, hey, nobody's perfect, but some people, like Janice Dickinson, are a lot of fun. I think it's best to remember at this point the words of Tiny Tim, who said, God bless us, each and every... Whoops! I'm bleeding out my ass!
What are these?
Those are your new shoes, Dawn.
Those aren't the right kind. I told you cha-cha heels, black ones.
Nice girls don't wear cha-cha heels.